Now that we have school-wide and grade level SMART goals in language, we must design an action plan that is strategically aligned to achieving these goals. The action plan for language must be aligned to support the school's design of its equitable school-wide ELD model. Let's take a look on the screen at the header of this particular page of an action plan. This is also a template that you will receive after the webinar that you may use and adjust as needed. So in this particular action plan, which is for a grade level or a department in a school, we would ask the grade level to enter the name, first grade, second grade, math, music, PE, whatever the grade level or department name is, okay? Then we will ask the grade level to state the mid-year and end-year goals in literacy, language, and math. I believe you already know why. It is because of strategic alignment to the school's overall school improvement goals, which in turn are aligned to the district's overall school improvement areas. So we list the SMART goals here on this action plan to keep them fresh. For the purpose of this illustration, I'm listing only the language goals so we can focus in. I find it also helpful to list the strategic priority areas for our school improvement plan here and to remind staff of the strategic priority areas. So those are always included there. And in terms of having interim or formative leading data, what are the performance measures that we use to give us information as to how students are progressing? And so we list them there to keep them in the mind of our teachers at all times. Notice that for English language development, ELD, we struggle with interim performance measures, either because we don't have them or we don't have the capacity to implement what's available to us. So being able to have leading data that tells us how our English language learners are proceeding toward proficiency in English is an adaptive leadership challenge of its own. Let's take a little look at what an action plan looks like when it is aligned to a SMART goal in language. So the action plan template lists a specific action and a timeline. It will list who's responsible. It's going to list the resources we need, evidence of implementation, monitoring the results, and next steps. These aspects of an action plan can also be seen within a continuous improvement cycle. So I added the plan do phase here for action and timeline, persons responsible, resources needed. That's going to help us with the plan do phase. The study phase, that's all about what evidence shows that we're implementing the action, the monitoring the results. That's my study phase in the continuous improvement cycle. And then of course, there's an act phase where we denote next steps. So an action plan to align to SMART goals in language has to focus on the design of the school's equitable ELD model. We have to have an action plan that's strategically aligned to that language SMART goal. And again, it has to be aligned to what it takes for your school to implement its equitable school-wide ELD model. So in the first action, in a high EL impact school, we must collaborate and co-plan to create what we are calling collaboration stations and ELD stations to provide differentiated content-based English language development instructions for ELs in reading English language arts and social studies in accordance with the LSI Equitable School-Wide ELD model. I know it's a lot, but it's really not, because this particular action speaks to a common denominator in all high EL impact schools, and that is the requirement for deep and sustained collaboration between EL teachers and general educators. Whatever your school designs to create an equitable ELD model will be based on your particular school. But at LSI, the sample that we use to show what an equitable school-wide ELD model is called station rotation. So this SMART goal speaks to making sure that we collaborate and co-plan to create particular stations in our equitable ELD model that's going to make sure that our ELs get what they need to learn that grade level English and academic content at the same time. Who's responsible? Everybody. It's a shared responsibility. We also have non-classroom based reading resource staff responsible as well. What resources do you need? Now, when you get this template at the conclusion of this webinar, I have embedded for you critical resources that will get you to begin thinking about how to envision what collaboration will look like in your school, critical books that will get you to think about how co-teaching, co-instruction, co-assessment, co-reflection, how that works as it relates to creating a school-wide equitable ELD model. All of these links, wow, you're going to receive a wealth of resources that will help you begin to figure out what an equitable ELD model might mean for you. But because this example was written when the school already developed its equitable ELD model, the action speaks to making sure that we have that collaboration and co-planning in place to make the model happen. Evidence of implementation, we use walkthrough data. We use informal observations and walkthrough data. We have electronic forms that schools can use. We're looking for differentiated assignments, tasks, and activities. I'm looking for completed station rotation templates. We're very specific as to what evidence of implementation looks like for this particular action. For monitoring, our teacher leaders work in partnership with admin to conduct informal observations by zone. I learned that from a former principal colleague, where we would go out and kind of blanket a whole geographical area of a school to collect good information about what's happening instructionally in that area. This is what we mean by zone. Teacher leaders and admin can conduct learning walks on a bi-monthly basis. Teachers and admin engage in a cycle of coaching conversations with teachers to improve practice. So there is a strong monitoring component within an action plan that is aligned to a SMART goal, because the school has developed or is planning to develop an equitable school-wide ELD model. The second action is all about how we monitor progress in English language development. And again, I am providing key resources that can be used to monitor English language development on a regular basis, as well as the evidence of implementation and what the monitoring structure is there. Item 3 is all about how we collaborate and co-plan to teach the language of math and science, okay? And of course, the fourth and final action, because you don't want to have too many, 4 is enough. The fourth and final action really relates to a strategic need that we had to intensify our instructional and social emotional supports for newcomer English learners. And so, you know, in this particular example, we decided that we would provide small group pull-out, ESOL instruction and counseling sessions for newcomers in grades 1 through 5. It's very specific, but again, the template, you will receive it. It is a well-developed action plan that is aligned to the school's ELD model, one that is equitable and one that is school-wide.